Good evening. I'm your mistress and welcome to Mistress in the Darkness. Tonight we delve into the darkest corners of childhood. We unravel chilling stories of young minds that turned lethal. Brace yourselves. It's time to explore the sinister side of innocence. So we're talking about children who kill today. The topic of children who commit serious crimes such as murder is a complex and sensitive issue. It involves cases where individuals under the age of 18 have been responsible for taking the lives of others. There's lots of things we need to take into consideration when, looking at criminal children. So remember, we need the disclaimer, so please have a look at that. We don't mean to harm anybody or to say anything that could upset anybody. Also, all of our stuff is not our opinions, it's just, well, it is our opinions, but it's also information that we found online, so if it is incorrect, we apologise for that. So some things to consider is just, psychological factors. So what made these children become killers? There can be lots of different reasons: psychological issues, environmental factors, abuse, neglect. There's also a lot of legal responsibilities. So the legal system has a lot of problems. They struggle with juveniles. So they've got a lot of problems with juveniles, trying to figure out where they're meant to put them. Are they meant to just put them into halfway houses? Are they meant to put them? You can't just chuck them in prison. Mental health. What are they going to do? So that is a big issue that is still going around, and they have to kind of figure out what are they going to do. Are they going to try to rehabilitate or punish them? There's also, prevention. So what kind of prevention can we put into it? Because, if it's family issues, mental health issues, all that sort of stuff, there's normally something in there that will make them become murderers. It's not just because they are hungry for the blood. Some of them obviously will be, but just saying, it's normally bits and pieces. So the first one we're talking about today is the Slender Man killings. One notable story of kids who kill is a case that shook the world. The story of Anissa Weir and Morgan Geyser. In 2014, these two girls from Waukesha, Wisconsin, lured their friends into the woods and stabbed her 19 times, all in the name of a fictional internet character called Slender Man. What makes this case particularly troubling is that Anissa and Morgan were only 12 years old at the time. Their actions beg the question: how do we hold children accountable for such horrific crimes, especially when influenced by online culture? Both girls struggled with mental illness issues, prompting the debate about intersection of mental illness and criminal behaviour. And while we search for answers, let's not forget the resilience of the victim, Peyton Lettner, who survived against all odds. This case reminds us of the urgent need for mental health support for young people and the dangers of unchecked online influences. Anissa and Morgan were both charged as adults and ultimately pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree intentional homicide. In 2017, Anissa was sentenced to 25 years in a mental health facility, with the possibility of petitioning for release every 6 months if she remained compliant with her treatment. Morgan received a similar sentence of 40 years in a mental health facility. Both sentences reflect the court's recognition of their youth and mental health issues, while also prioritising public safety. While Morgan has been denied a release, Anissa was released in September 2021 from the same mental health institution. Anissa had been found not guilty by reason of insanity in September 2017, the Associated Press reported at the time. There we go. There's just a little bit on that.
Yes. There's not much you can say there.
No, well, it's pretty messed up issue, and the fact that it just, just literally rocked the world. These 12-year-old girls deciding they're just going to go and off their friend to sate this imaginary creature. It's pretty fucked up. So I believe now that one of them has been released.
Yes, what a wonderful thing.
Mm.
What a wonderful thing. What a wonderful thing.
Is that all you have to say about that? What a wonderful thing. So, that's that one. So the next one we're going to talk about is Annie Bird Bell.
Any Bird Bell. Any Bird Bell. Now, this goes back a little way, folks. We're going back, way back, almost 200 years to 1831 and rural England. And this is the crimes of John, also known as Inibird Bell, and his brother James. Two very young people. John was 14 and his brother was 11.
Wow.
And they lived in what they called a poorhouse, or what we would know here as they termed it a workhouse in rural UK. And they were fairly poor. However, John had a couple of prized possessions, including one which was a knife which was engraved with his name on the handle. And one day, John and his younger brother James were out, and they happened upon a young boy by the name of Richard Taylor. Now, Richard had been sent by his father to collect their weekly stipend from the local parish. Richard's father's weekly stipend was 9 shillings. Now, his father used to do a lot of work for the parish and had become invalided. So the parish was paying him basically a weekly wage.
Okay.
John and James came across Richard, and Richard begged and pleaded and offered to give them the money and make sure and swore that he would never tell a living soul what had happened. But that wasn't acceptable for young John, and he stabbed young Richard in the neck, and young Richard bled to death. Now, it wasn't until 2 months later that, 3 months later, that the body of Richard was found. And the police, and you need to remember that in this particular period of time, policing was only just starting to come into vogue. We'd only just seen the establishment of things like the Bow Street Runners, which gave birth to the Metropolitan Police in London. And the provincial forces were still only very, very early days, in their infancy, if you would like.
Okay.
And the provincial forces in Warwickshire, where this took place, did their level best, and they actually found the murder weapon, which led them directly back to John because his name was engraved on the handle. And when John was captured and taken into custody, when he was being transported to court to stand trial for the murder of young Richard, he pointed out where he killed him, and his words to the constable that was accompanying him in the coach to the courthouse was that Richard was in a better place now than what he had previously had been. And he even asked the constable whether he agreed with him.
Okay.
Well, due to the overwhelming evidence, young John was found guilty of willful murder and therefore became the youngest person sentenced to death. He was sentenced to death on the 29th of July, 1831. And as was custom of the time, young John was to be executed within 48 hours of the sentence. However, that couldn't happen because 48 hours from when he was sentenced would have meant it was a Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So therefore he was not executed until the 1st of August, which meant it was a Monday. Now, as well as being the youngest person in the 19th century sentenced to death, he also suffered infamy, if you would like, as to be the first person in the United Kingdom that suffered execution by the drop gallows. Before that, everybody was just hauled up and suspended. So there we go. There is the story of a rather nasty young man who could have taken the 9 shillings from his victim and let his victim go on their way. But he decided that he would kill the victim just so he could get away with it, and didn't happen.
No, definitely. So is that a picture of his head? Like, is that a sculpture of his head?
That is a picture of his death mask.
That was for me with the screen. You're welcome. Yeah.
As was the style of the time.
As was the style of the time.
When somebody was executed in the 19th century, even here in Australia, a death mask was cast after their death.
Oh, really?
And if you go to Old Melbourne Jail, that's where Ned Kelly's death mask is on display.
That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I'm not going, oh, I really want to go see that or want to go see anyone's death mask. It's just cool. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
There you
I
go.
know what you're saying. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
indeed. Mm.
Oh, there you
Mm.
go. It's
And
interesting
I'm
sometimes.
sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not as well presented tonight as the lovely mistress because I've only just gotten home from work. I haven't had a chance to have a shower. I just quickly ate dinner and
Just
came
sit
to get
up.
on the computer. So I'm still in my work clothes. I'm still in
Just
my
sit
work
up.
clothes.
Just sit up. People can see you better.
People
Uh,
don't need to see me. That's why I do radio.
can always get you like a little character thing, a little caricature.
I've, I've got a great head for radio and a brilliant voice for silent movies.
Oh, you're so funny. Just silly sausage. Should I hide?
Badger, we do call it the Mistress in the Darkness. If there's not a little bit of terror involved, we're
I've got
not
to have
doing
my
our job
fun.
properly.
I have to have my fun.
Exactly. Exactly.
Tell me your
All
fact.
right. When we doom scroll on social media and the internet, sometimes we come up with bizarre things.
Mm.
Bizarre, but true.
Yes,
Now,
bizarre but true.
we all know that the mistress and I are, how shall we say, a little left of centre, I guess would be the best description without breaking too many rules.
Totally.
And covered some interesting topics over the past streams
Mm.
that we've done. And I actually came across something, um, a treatment under the guise of psychiatry the other day,
Mm-hmm.
which immediately made me prick up my ears. Great Gary
Mm.
Oldman film, by the way, folks. If you
Made
haven't
you a
seen
prick.
it, check it out. And it's an interesting story that was reported in the Siberian Times and has actually been referenced in various medical journals ever since. And it
Okay.
is the story of the story of Dr. German Filipenko and Professor Marina Shukovra, who have a practice, a psychiatric practice in Siberia in Russia, which is for those of you who don't know, and Snez, if you're watching, you know where Siberia is. It is central Russia, and it's a very remote part of the world, but still rather heavily populated. Now, they came up with a theory, and we have all heard of things like ECT, electroconvulsive therapy,
Oh yeah.
TMS, transmagnetic stimulation, insulin therapy,
Masturbation.
lobotomies, frontal lobotomies, transorbital lobotomies. Well, Dr. Filipenko and Professor Shukrova came up with a theory of physical punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So, what they decided to do, and they started this off as a treatment initially for people with high level addiction to various drugs and alcohol. And after a while, they transferred it across to people that are suffering depression. They are doing caning sessions on patients. And I'm not talking, yes, I know. I am not talking lightweight stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking.
Continue. I think I'm blushing.
Oh,
I think I'm
mistress,
blushing.
mistress, mistress, I do believe you're blushing.
I think I am too. Ignore me. Just ignore
As I
me.
said, I'm not talking lightweight stuff here,
Neither
ladies and
am
gentlemen.
I.
I'm
Sorry.
talking rather severe things. Each session consists of 60 strokes of the cane over a bare bottom for 2 treatments per week for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might raise an eyebrow at this and say, I do not believe it. But, as I said, this has been referenced in medical journals.
Oh, definitely.
And even the patients are going on record saying that it works. A young lady by the name of Natasha,
Mm-hmm.
surname withheld, claims that it gave her life back.
I bet it did.
And another young male gentleman, name suppressed, has actually said it had made such a difference in his life. It stopped his alcohol addiction. The morning after the first treatment, when he got up, he did not want to go to the fridge and take a swig out of the bottle of vodka. And his life has turned around so much that his girlfriend now wants to have children with him because she
Yeah.
believes he is now a strong and responsible individual. So there you go. Now, all this is for the princely sum of $99 US per session.
Oh
Cheaper
my
than
gosh.
dominatrix, and it has a medical background. It has a medical scientific basis for the fact. So there you go. That's your weird doom scrolling fact of the week, ladies and gents.
Well, you know they used to massage the woman's uterus if she was depressed or had too much of the what is it? Too much spirit, was having one of those times and was, angry with her husband or anything like that. They'd when they locked them up, they would massage their uterus, and then that's how they invented vibrators.
Yes, and that was actually done before they were actually locking them up in asylums. Ladies in the 19th century used to go to doctors for
Yeah,
manual relief.
yeah. There you go. Why not? I mean, guys weren't going to do it for us, apparently. No
Some
wonder they were
guys,
so
girls, some guys.
cranky. I just mean back in those days. I'm sure guys these days are much better.
Look, from what I've been told, and I can only go from what I've been told, it depends on the guy.
You can turn back time
Some
if you can
guys are
find a
only,
way.
some guys are only interested in finishing and watching the footy.
See, I think if I was with somebody, well, I wouldn't be with them. Let's be honest. Who was more interested in watching the footy than finishing up a situation. I wouldn't be finishing situations. I'd be starting them and they're going, oh no, got to go. Paint my nails. Because I'm fine, I can sort myself out. Um,
But what's
I'm
the
an
point of sorting
independent
yourself
woman.
out when you've got? What's the point of sorting yourself out when you've got a partner? That's half the fun of it.
Funsies. Well, that's a whole
If,
different. Let's not go into that.
if, if you're with
different things you
somebody
can
and
do together.
if you're with somebody and you've got to go and sort yourself out afterwards and
It's a
get
big
across the
problem.
finish line, then
Yeah.
really you shouldn't have
Communication would
crossed
be
the start
terrible.
line with them in the first place.
Exactly. That means
Mm-hmm.
the communication's terrible, means you're not listening to each other and things aren't going that way. Nah, I wouldn't be with them. Watch the footy while finishing the situation. Yeah, but imagine you're doing stuff and then all of a sudden your team wins. You're like, yay! And then just tear. Don't you? Pay attention.
Badger reminds me of the song by the
Just gonna have a
Bloodhound
smoke.
Gang, The Bad Touch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do it doggy style while we watch X Files.
And I have done that, and I can attest that you can. I'll break that. As long as you're not watching
Now
that
you
one
see, you
episode they
should.
cancelled.
Okay, I'm just letting that one go through to the keeper.
Good plan.
No comment. No comment.
Wait a minute, am I the keeper?
No, no,
Oh, that's
no,
good.
you're not.
That could be orcs. Imagine me being responsible for things. I've done a whole pile of stuff. Like if everyone knows, I'm releasing new videos every day at 7 p.m. my time on YouTube every single day. So there's a new video every day. Sometimes I put up more because I fucking want to. I can do what I want. But yeah, that's something. And my game should be released. Well, my game should be sort of half finished in the next 2 weeks. Problem is, I keep making more of a story. Like I keep developing the story and making it deeper. Which, if anyone's watching my YouTube or any of my, Twitches, knows I'm obsessed with story. Like good story and good graphics. I'm sorry, good story and good music can forgive no end of sins. So I just keep developing it, and now I've got a fucking novel instead of just like a really easy game to make. It's dumb. So today we're doing something that is, this guy it's super super famous, and there's been so many movies and stuff made about them. It's ridiculous. So here we are with Charlie Starkweather. Charlie Starkweather was brought up at a respectable home with well-behaved siblings. He was third of 7. In contrast, Starkweather's time at school was unpleasant because he was often teased and bullied for his limitations. He was born with a leg deformity, a speech impediment, and also suffered from severe myopia. The only place he excelled was gym class. He began to bulk up as a result. With his newfound physique, Starkweather transformed from the bullied to bully, and went from the most well-behaved teenager to the most troubled student. By 1956, 18-year-old Starkweather was introduced to Carol Ann Fugit, who was 13 at the time. The two quickly hit it off. Gradually, Charlie convinced himself that he had to become a criminal in order to gain money and respect. On December 1957, Charlie committed his first murder and at once felt euphoric and peaceful. The day after Charlie robbed and murdered his first victim, Robert Covey, he admitted everything to his girlfriend. This confession caused their bond to become even more intense. It would also lead to the mass murdering road trip. Charlie, 19-year-old at the time, along with his 14-year-old girlfriend, carried out 2-month spree that inspired films like California and Natural Born Killers. The teen strangled, stabbed, sexually assaulted, and shot 11 different victims between December 1957 and January 1958 across the states of Nebraska and Wyoming, including his girlfriend's family. The day of their final murder, the duo ran into law enforcement and Starkweather's girlfriend confessed, resulting in their high-speed capture. Starkweather was sentenced to death by electric chair 17 months after he was arrested. And there we go. The difference everyone knows about them, like everyone's heard about them, everyone's seen California, like Californication, totally different thing. California, Natural Born Killers, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's pretty fucked up. I mean, 18-year-old and a 13-year-old. I mean, I'll just start with that. That's pretty fucked up. Charlie Starkweather.
It's quite interesting. The Federal Bureau of Investigation have been on record saying that at any point in time they believe that there is approximately 150 active serial killers in the United States, which takes you to the next question: is if there's 150 active serial killers at any one time in the United States, what the hell is the FBI doing?
Counting, apparently.
Because really, isn't that their job?
Yeah, they're just doing maths.
Yeah. Sitting there churning out graphs and, we believe there's this many active serial killers in the United States. It's not our job to catch them.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. Then you wonder how many people that aren't actually currently active or are practicing or are just really good at hiding it. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
I know it's a general number of somewhere around 150, but like, you know, you always just think about that. I always do.
Well, when you say not active, it goes back to the first known serial killer being Jack the Ripper in London in the 1880s.
Yeah.
That who went dormant, and they still haven't solved that.
Exactly.
160 years later, it's still not solved.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of questions around that, and of course that gave rise to a lot more modern forensic technology, a lot more modern policing skills, a lot more in the way of data matching for fingerprints,
definitely.
crime scenes. The Jack the Ripper killings were the first crime scenes that were actually documented by photography.
Wow.
Before that, they just sort of cleaned them up as quickly as possible, and of course, so much evidence was lost.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you actually if you're interested in having a look at forensics and whatnot, there was a great series that was done by the Australian ABC back in 1992. It went to air, called Phoenix, which was about the Melbourne Police Centre bombing. And it actually goes into quite detailed information about the forensic process and how they used really detailed forensics to catch the bombers that killed that young policewoman in Melbourne at the police centre in Russell
Yeah.
Street. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds
And
very,
I
very
actually
interesting.
did speak to a superintendent who was then running the Officer Training Academy at Glen Waverley at the time, and he said that Victoria Police did have a big input into that show, especially on the technical side of things. So well worth it. It is on YouTube. I watched it. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before. I rewatched it. Brilliant program. Get on and have a look. It's called Phoenix. I think it's about an 8-part series. Brilliant, brilliant.
That's awesome. I will put that in the description of the YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that in there.
We are now going to the subcontinent, to India. And we are going to have a look at the youngest recorded serial killer in history. A young man that claimed 3 lives before the age of 10.
Wow.
The young man's name is Amarjit Sada. In 2006 and 2007, he killed 3 girls, including his own sister. Amarjit came from a fairly impoverished family. His father was a labourer.
Mm-hmm.
And there was rumours spreading around at the time that Amarjit was responsible for the disappearance of 2 young girls, one being his sister. But because of the Indian culture, the family did their best to cover this up. And his uncle, after he was caught, was on record in an interview in The Sun in India as saying that, yes, the family did cover up the first murder and the murder of his sister because they didn't want to bring shame and embarrassment on the family. Now, shortly after all this happened, a neighbour reported the disappearance of her daughter, a young girl called Khushbu Devi. She was at childcare for the day, and when the mother went to pick her up, the child was not there. The child hadn't been seen for a couple of hours, but young Amarjit had been seen in the vicinity a few hours before. The local residents were quite adamant that Amarjit had had something to do with the disappearance of this young child. So finally, against protestations of Amarjit Sada's family, the police were summoned, and the police were directed to talk to him, as they thought he might be the one that was committing these crimes. Amarjit was taken into custody, and young Amarjit was born in Bengarasi in India in 1998. He came from a rather impoverished family. His family were well aware that he was a child that was a little bit of a sadist and had a very dark streak to his personality. So when the first 2 girls, including his sister, were killed, the family did their best to cover up. And that was really a tragic mistake to make. Because when the 3rd child, Khushbu Devi, went missing, the family already knew what was going on, and they could have saved this poor girl by coming forward. The locals in the town finally had enough of the disappearance and death of these 3 young ladies, and they did get the police involved. And the police were directed to question Amarjit. And under questioning, he admitted quite openly and quite coldly that he had murdered these 3 young girls, including Khushbu and his sister. And during his interview, it was noted that the only affect that he displayed in any sort was when he actually asked the police for a biscuit. Now, Amarjit, being of such a young age, could not stand trial for his crimes. So he was assessed by a psychologist who claimed he was a sadist who had violent tendencies. Really? That was fucking obvious, wasn't it?
Exactly.
And he was confined to what we know as a children's home, where he did receive medication and he did receive psychological treatment while in the children's home. However, when he turned 18, he was released.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, he is still at large. Nobody knows where he is. So here we have in a very, very largely populated country,
Yeah.
which has many, many, many issues, many good things, many, many, many issues. A child serial killer wandering around that was responsible for the death of at least 3 very young girls wandering in society, and nobody knows where he is.
That is
Nobody knows whether
horrendous.
he's committed more crimes. Nobody even knows if he is still alive.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
there we go, ladies and gentlemen. The story, the very sad story of a young gentleman by the name of Amarjit Sada from India.
Yes, I did go play with my ginger pussy, and it's very happy now. He just wanted to
Very
go and get
happy.
wet. Yeah, he wanted to go get wet.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So if anyone has any questions, please let us know.
Questions in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Questions in the comments. All questions gratefully accepted. Answers may or may not be true. We'll just make them up as we go along because we don't care.
Gingerbread. Oh my god. Have you seen Tim Minchin's song? What's it called? I don't think what it's called, but it's like only a ginger can call another ginger ginger. Hilarious song. So funny. I will put that in the description too. Actually, no, I won't because I'm not going to put this bit up on YouTube.
Shall we do a little bit of cross promotion, Mistress?
Sure. What would you like to promote?
Ladies and gentlemen, next Thursday, please
Oh yes.
join the Mistress 9 for the Mistress's radio segment. She is, as well as doing all the lovely stuff she does here on Twitch and YouTube and everything else, she is also a expert on radio. The Mistress does a little segment with me every fortnight on radio.
Expert.
You can find us at iHeartRadio /7 Mid FM Thursdays from 3:30 p.m. So come along and join us. We do have a lot of fun. We don't get quite as silly as what we do here because it is more of a G theme, ladies and gentlemen, because after all, we do start at 3:30 in the afternoon. And yes, the Mistress and I have gotten into a lot of trouble, and I almost got us kicked off air because I was the one in charge, and I let things get a little bit too naughty. But gee, we had fun.
It was so good. I wish we'd recorded it.
It was pretty wild. It was great.
Why was Ted Bundy labelled as... Yeah, sorry.
Every second week, the off week that we stream is the week that the Mistress is on doing her social media spot on radio. So please come along. iHeartRadio app /7 Mid FM Thursdays from 3:30 every second week.
iHeartRadio. I'm trying to get a job as a singer now. Yeah. I've got a question. Why was Ted Bundy labelled a serial killer when he didn't kill that many peeps? How many people do you have to actually kill to become to be considered a serial killer? It's not that many. It's just multiple, isn't it?
Ted Bundy killed quite a few women, and there was also quite a lot that he didn't get convicted for. And it's the old saying, the coppers knew he did it, but they couldn't get him for it, so they got him for other stuff.
Yeah. Look. Should play some hold music. World's most evil killers. He killed 35 people. I mean,
that's a pretty good effort.
More than a bucket of chips, isn't it? That's more than
25's a pretty good effort, you know.
Yeah, he kind of did kill a fair few. 35 before being executed in 1989.
That takes a fair amount of commitment.
Look, it's really, that does take commitment. It takes a lot of follow through.
Yeah, exactly.
Ted Bundy's last meal. Sorry. I have this cookbook, and it's just not everyone's last meal, but a whole pile of serial killers' last meals. I just want to know what his last meal is. I think I remember it from somewhere, but I don't. I can tell you.
This is one of the worst criminals in U.S. history, and this is his death row meal. Ted Bundy confessed to 30 homicides, and he was sentenced to death. He actually refused his last meal, so he was given the standard Florida death row meal, which is steak, eggs, hash.
quite
Take 8
surprised that he ended up a serial killer. And
so, hey,
he was
Mr.
a decent
Gribble.
sort of guy.
So what do we get? What makes a good serial killer doco? What makes a good serial killer doco? Probably
Script.
good facts done correctly and done concisely, and none of that boring babbly. Tell us something interesting. Tell us what kind of jocks he wears. Tell us, all that sort of stuff.
There's actually one.
Oh, okay, darling. Gacy, yeah. Ooh,
there's one called. Pretty sure it was Murder in the Heartland with Sam Neill as
serial killer.
One of the police officers. That was actually a really good one.
What was that?
Well
Sorry.
worth watching. There's a serial killer doco, or it was actually a TV movie called Murder in the Heartland, and Sam Neill was one of the police officers in the show. Well worth watching that one. Well worth watching. It was very well done.
Andrew, what do you mean probably a serial killer? John Wayne Gacy? Or is that like John
Wayne Gacy was definitely a serial
killer, yeah. The amount of children he had in his basement. Mr. Gribble loves that one. I don't watch that many documentaries. Like, I watch a few, but I find I need it short, concise. I can't watch 2 hours. I can.
But that's a good thing about streaming. You can stop it and come back.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I do. I'll sit there and watch a bit, but then I'll get distracted by something else.
Yep.
That's what makes it good. Yeah. Okay, what makes a good serial killer doco is a serial killer. That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's that game? What's that movie called? Nightcrawler. Hey, that's a good doco.
I haven't seen that one.
It's a good one. It's not a doco.
Okay.
But yeah, it's about a dude who he's like a photographer, a news journalist. That one, and starts making his own news.
If you want to see something along a similar vein from that, but real old school, is a series called The Night Stalker with Darren McGavin, which was done in the very early 70s. Really, really good. Really out there. Some of the topics covered in that are really
This is one of the worst criminals in...
Very, very good. Available to stream on various platforms. Also available as DVDs if you want to buy it. Got the box set in my collection. Very good. Very
sounds good. Interesting.
And there was actually one they did as a movie called The Night Strangler, which was superb.
Yeah, Night Strangler is amazing. Night Stalker is the same as the Golden State Killer. Okay, cool. Yeah. Does serial killers suit some killers rather than others? Well, what do you mean, like with the context and like the information they've got? Some serial killers do really well in documentaries, and other ones just don't work. Is that what you mean? Is that what you're trying to say? So, the Golden State Killer we've got is Joseph James D'Angelo Jr. He was born in 1945, and he's American serial killer, rapist, burglar, peeping Tom, and former police officer. We actually did a thing on him. Same guy, but named differently. Oh, really?
No, I think Badger, I think you're thinking of something different. The Night Stalker that I'm talking about is a TV series that's actually done by a reporter for the Chicago Tribune. It's actually a series of 1 hour programs, and each one he comes across a different situation, whether it be a murder.
Night Stalker was Richard Ramirez. He was a serial killer. Night Stalker.
But the series The Night Stalker is something different.
Yeah.
Still worth watching, and yes, Richard Ramirez
more
was
of a story
the
to
Night
tell.
Stalker.
Yeah, I think some of the serial killers have got better stories, and that they've got more of a story and more of a backstory. I think if a serial killer is believable, likable, have a deep seated past, that would make it a lot more interesting than if someone goes, they are a serial killer because they wanted to kill people and then they killed like 17 people and then they got in trouble. You know what I mean? Like if there's a lot more backstory and stuff like that, it makes them more interesting. Obviously, that would make a much better documentary. 100%.
If you have a look at serial killers like Eileen Wuornos in Texas, she started off killing her clients. She was a prostitute in Texas. and she actually got a taste for it, and then she initially was killing people because she was saying that, yeah, Aileen Wuornos, yes.
Yeah.
She was saying these clients were raping her and whatnot, but then she got a taste for it, and she actually would then go out and seek out the clients and kill them because she got a buzz out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she's an interesting character.
A question, what's the show that had all the serial killers on it and 2 FBI profilers? Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
You're not thinking of Criminal Minds, are you, Badger?
No, there's another one where they sit there and they're assessing them. Is that right? The one they're going to talk to the serial killers when they're in prison and they're assessing them. They're like coming up with. It's about the first FBI agents and stuff like that started to profile. They started to profile people. Yeah. It was only about 2. Yeah, it was only short. I'm hoping it's not called Profiler. Profiling. Oh, I know what fucking profiling is, you absolute
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter, that's the one. Yes, that is it. Yeah, very, very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Griffith. Okay, that's not one that I've seen.
Yeah, it's worthwhile. It's really good, and it's pretty close to, it's historical as well. So, which is awesome.
I've come across a new one in the last couple of weeks on Paramount Plus. It's actually called Evil. That is very interesting.
Very, very good.
It's a little twisted, but yeah, very interesting.
Those things are a little twisted.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Oh, my new favorite thing that keeps coming out of my mouth organically, which, normally things go into my mouth organically, is what in the French fried fuckery is this? I've said it in so many videos. Someone's actually asked me to make a mug, because I make mugs and stuff like that. They've asked me to make a mug with it on it. So I've got like this unicorn holding a knife, and it looks like really sweet until you look at it, and then it's a whole pile of fucked up shit, and this is what in the French fried fuckery. It's fun.
That's an interesting comment. The French fried fuckery. I honestly don't know if I could get away with doing that in my day job or my night job. So I'd probably get my fucking license revoked for either of that comment.
Probably. Just it's part of my style. No, but it's just like the most random things sometimes come out of my mouth.
Yes.
So weird. They do look a lot like the real serial killers in the TV show Mindhunter. They've gotten like such great lookalikes, and they like act like them. They're so good, so well done. Yeah, definitely worth a watch. I don't know where you could watch it. Toss waffle is a normal saying.
I guess that's probably just about it for tonight, ladies and gents. So thank you very, very much for joining us. We do appreciate your
definitely. Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so thank you all for coming. Thank you for attending, and I will put on the end video.